you are wanting to essentially gather as much data from different places as possible, because what's happening is you're about to speak to people who have experiences from all walks of life. And the more that you can pull in these different ideas, concepts, and experiences, the more that you are going to take them on an emotional journey. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. It's time for another quickie because there's always time to fit in inspiration. And this podcast is now a very proud part of the Growth Day podcast network. And I also get to teach in the Growth Day app once a month. So go in the show notes and check it out where you can find me. I would love to have you join me there. I cannot wait to see you. And you guys, I want to give a shout out to the review of the week. It is Molly Klein, and she says, I'm in the process of opening my own practice in a few months, and I've been devouring your podcast. I appreciate all the shifts in mindset that you spark in me and also the real life tangible advice. Molly, thank you so much for that, because I'm telling you, I am so happy I could help you a little bit with your business, because you just totally helped with my podcast. When you leave a review and you rate it, you guys, that's how your podcast gets out there even more. So thank you so much for that, Molly. And if you guys would rate and review, that would be amazing, so I can shout you out too. Okay, I was thinking on my walk this evening, I was thinking about where inspiration comes from, because at the particular moment, I have been listening to Ed Milet's book, The Power of One More, which if you guys haven't heard it yet, he was on the podcast a couple of months ago, and it was so freaking good. It's definitely in my top 10 podcasts that I've interviewed of all of the years of podcasting. I was like literally in tears for the last half of it because I was so incredibly inspired and moved. And going back to the book and just hearing some of the things that he had talked about, I thought, you know, in my life, I've gotten inspiration from a lot of different places. And I typically am not feeling inspired in my life if I'm not seeking it. So the very first thing that I thought is inspiration has to be intentional. You have to seek it out. It's kind of like the beginning intro of this podcast, right? Like there's always time for inspiration. And by you guys just tuning into this podcast, that is getting intentional. You're attempting to spot it for the day. You're seeking it. So your RAS, your reticular activating system, is going to look for inspiration instead of for BS, right? So I was thinking about inspiration in terms of not just coming from the typical places that you think it's going to come from. Because for me, when I first got into just self-development, personal development, I really stayed in these genres to get inspired. I looked to different thought leaders, I looked to different authors, and then I started to realize that I get really inspired by music, by dancing, by poets, by poetry, by movies. Okay, and this is a big one. This is a huge one for me. I get so inspired and learn so much when I watch really good comedians. Like, I kind of like really observe how they're delivering and just the artistry and mastery of the delivery. And for me, it helps me in my everyday life with communication. It helps me write better. It helps me do better posts on social media. It helps me with my relationships. And the biggest thing is it helps me be a better speaker on stage. So I wanted to bring this up because if you're feeling a little bit uninspired, I know that for me, before I did the Bliss Project event, which if you guys didn't know, I think for like 8 years, I did this event called the Bliss Project, where 500 women from all over the globe came, and it was a 3-day personal development event. I loved it. I was obsessed with it. The only reason I stopped doing it is because I'm in new territory and new ventures right now, and it's requiring all that I have to give. It was just time to move on from that particular thing at that time. Maybe I'll do another event. We'll see. But what would happen before these events is I would go on these like inspiration binges, and I would just like be in the personal development world so much. I'd be listening to books. I'd be listening to podcasts. I'd be listening to personal development speakers. And by the time the event got there, I was just like, oh my God, like I'm so burnt out. I have nothing to give after this. I don't want to listen to another personal development, anything. And I would have to like switch gears. I'd have to go. I would feel so uninspired sometimes afterward because it's like you just emptied all you had. You emptied the tanks, right? And it's almost like eating the same food over and over again. You just like need a break. You're like, I can never eat chicken and asparagus again. And if you're like, what are you talking about? To anyone who's ever competed in the fitness world, like you may actually not ever be able to eat chicken and asparagus ever again afterward. And that's kind of how I feel sometimes after preparing for different large events that I used to do. Hey, as you probably know, running a business is not for the faint of heart. And if you want to get to the next level in your business, you usually need to take your self-care to the next level, which for me, one of the biggest things on my self-care list is sleep. So it's critical in order to wake up feeling refreshed and productive. And Soul CBD helps me do that with their CBD gummies and their bath bombs. One of my favorite pre-sleep rituals is to throw a CBD bath bomb in the tub, light a candle, and take 2 gummies. By the time I get out of the tub, I've caught a certified sleep vibe, you guys. All of Soul CBD's products are 99% hemp-derived, non-toxic, organic, and sustainably sourced. Basically, this means that it's quality stuff. And I'm totally pumped that Soul CBD is sponsoring Earn Your Happy because I am obsessed with it. Like it's my sleepy time little snack candy before I go to bed. Get 15% off when you go to mysoulcbd.com/Lori. Unfortunately, there's no shipping to Canada at the moment, but if you're in the US, you are in luck. One more time, you get 15% off automatically when you visit mysoulcbd.com/Lori, which will be linked in the show notes. And I've linked everything today so you can start shopping now and stop stressing out. So I'm telling you this because this is when I really started to understand how important it is to branch out into all of the different genres in order to find inspiration. Because after that, I almost couldn't read another personal development book for like 6 months or more. And what ended up happening is I started to look for inspiration in other places. And this is when I found that actually some of the best places for me to not only get inspired, but to observe how to be great, how to be better, how to incorporate all of these different things that can translate into your genre and category. I am obsessed with watching comedians. I am obsessed with watching dancers and dancing, right? I actually took ballroom lessons for 4 years and competed in 3 different ballroom competitions with my husband. And that inspired such a huge portion of my life that leaked over into personal development, allowing me to use all of the examples and stories and all of the things. And so if we're just in one lane, you might be feeling a little bit uninspired. You might be feeling like you don't have a ton of things to talk about. And you might just be like trapped in that one area where if you would go out and start looking at, listening to more music and really allowing yourself to get inspired by the lyrics. I know for me, I'm just going to be so honest, like Eminem has inspired me so much around I did spoken word for a little while, and just the way that he is able to, whether you like him or not, the way that he is able to put thoughts together and truly move people in a different direction is like inspiring to me. So when I'm lacking inspiration, I have these go-to places that I go to, right? Sometimes I'll watch a documentary it's typically always on a singer, always on a performer. And after I watch those, I am like next level inspired by their drive to want to find new ways to push themselves to entertain and take it to the next level. And we can take all of these things and we can put it into what we're doing. So now instead of just like staying in the lane of the thing that I'm doing, like if I'm about to speak on a stage in a month, and it's a really big stage, I'm not just going to watch speakers at all. I'm going to watch performers. I am going to watch comedians. I am going to watch singers. I am going to watch different movies that really inspire me. And you are wanting to essentially gather as much data from different places as possible, because what's happening is you're about to speak to people who have experiences from all walks of life. And the more that you can pull in these different ideas, concepts, and experiences, the more that you are going to take them on an emotional journey. So whenever I find myself in a podcast, like telling you what to do, or when I'm writing my book or this new book, and when I was writing my last book, if I find myself just telling you what to do, instead of inviting you along in a story that has either happened to me or someone else, telling a story and really painting some details on there, that's when I realized, like, okay, I need to gather some more info and I need to gather some other stories out in the world so that I can bring you with instead of tell you, right? So that I can bring you into that story and give it detail and color and have you experience what it's like in that moment rather than just tell you what to do. So if you're feeling a little bit dry in the inspiration area, I want you just to play. Go out in the world and dabble and go and look at what other people who are great in whatever genre or field they're in are doing. Go and watch that documentary. Go and get that album and listen to the lyrics. Pull the lyrics up while you're listening to the music and just let it move you. People in inspiration, meaning when you're listening to that album, when you are watching them perform at their best, right? When you're watching the Olympics, when people are in inspiration, no matter what they're doing, there is inspiration to be had for you. So don't just stay in your lane. Go in all of the lanes, collect all the data, and I promise you it's going to make everything you do so much richer. Okay, you guys, I want to hear what you're going to go and study, what you're going to go do, what you're going to go watch. I want to know if there's been something that you're like, I kind of want to watch that Beyonce or Taylor Swift documentary, which I watched both. They were both great. And they both gave me so much inspo. Or I don't know, maybe you're going to go get an old Eminem album. I'm not sure. Don't really know, you guys. All right. Until next time, earn your happy. Bye, everyone. Hey y'all, I'm so excited to share with you, Earn Your Happy is now part of Growth Day Podcast Network. A bunch of us are coming together to bring more growth to the world and support shows and brands that we truly believe in. And one of my friends is also on the network, and I'd love for you to go subscribe to his show. You guys, Trent Shelton has the most incredible podcast. It's called Straight Up with Trent Shelton, and it's going to remind you that you are built for this. I have heard Trent speak in person multiple times. I've listened to his podcast a ton. He's coming on the show and I literally cannot wait because this man just spits straight fire. It is like truth that goes to your core and makes you take action right away. If you want one of those podcasts that when you're just out on a walk, you can't help but want to start running and run through a wall in your life, this is the show to go listen to. So you guys, make sure that you go subscribe to the show Straight Up with Trent Shelton. You're going to love it.
Hey, I know if you're listening to this podcast that you have big dreams and big goals. And one of the things that can really stop you is struggling with your marketing. Trust me, I have been there. Are you using 10 different systems just to build your online business? Then I want you to try Kajabi. Kajabi helps you build your web pages, set up funnels, and sell your courses, content, coaching, or communities. You've been hearing me talk a lot about funnels on this podcast and the importance of your email list. You can get a free trial at kajabi.com. That's Kajabi.com. I've talked about Kajabi before, but here's something that's super cool and new. They just rolled out an AI assistant for creating your online course curriculum. And this means you just type in a topic that you want to create on a course or webinar and bam, it just generates a sample outline for you. It takes a ton of the hard work away. Of course, you're going to customize it to be your own, but this really helps you get over the struggle of how in the world to start which is where most people stop. If you're like me, starting is always the hardest part, and that's what makes Kajabi so popular. They've made it easier for creators to build web pages, build courses, build coaching programs, build membership sites, build checkout pages, and build email funnels. So if you're struggling with any of those, you got to go check it out. Go to kajabi.com. Kajabi was really the first all-in-one system and is trusted by over 100,000 creators. I think that's good enough for me. Also has influencers and marketers who use this. And now their smart AI platform makes it easy to take what you know and turn it into an online course and business. Go start building with a free trial at kajabi.com. That's Kajabi.com.